In my humble opinion, the best instrument ever is the electric guitar. Think about how many iconic people have played the electric guitar, the lore around the electric guitar. I mean, it's so freaking cool, and I love it, and I'm here to talk to you about it. What's up, everyone? I'm Nick Buffano. Welcome back to the Harbor Music YouTube channel. Thank you so much for checking out another video. Today, I want to go over my approach when it comes to tracking, producing, and mixing electric guitar. Hopefully, some of these tips will help you out as you are mixing. Now, I say this all the time when it comes to like mix tips and tricks and all that stuff, and that's because it's super important. The most important part of anything is the person playing the guitar. Are they a great player? Can they keep the guitar in tune? Do they play tasteful parts? Can they pick the right guitar through the right amp that's going to get us the right sound? If you don't have that, there's no amount of processing in the computer that's going to make things sound great. Another super important thing you should know this, even if you're not a guitar player, it's important to understand like what types of guitars are out there and what these pickups do and what's the difference between them all. This guitar is a K-Line Strat made right here in St. Louis. This has single coils in it. Now, some of the statements I'm about to make are very generalized and it's not like, one size fits all, but just to kind of wrap your brain around them. Single coils tend to be a little thinner sounding. Not always, right? But even within this guitar here, right, I can select which pickups I'm using. This neck pickup is going to be a lot darker than the bridge pickup. Another example of pickup types would be humbuckers, like are on this 1964 Gibson SG. Humbuckers, again, blanket statement, tend to be a little bit thicker. They got a little bit more juice in them, a little bit more mid-range. And then even within a guitar like this, you can switch the pickup combination, right? So our neck pickup generally is going to be a little more darker, a little bit more woolly. As we switch to the bridge, we're going to be a little bit more bitey. But the sound from this guitar to that Strat is drastically different, right? And it also gets into like how it reacts to the amp, how it reacts to your string attack, all of those things. Something that's really fun to do. This is a bonus tip for you if you're paying attention at home. I love tracking stereo guitars playing the same part using a humbucker style guitar on one side and some sort of other combination on the other side, meaning left and right. So if it's a humbucker, we'll play like a big old rhythm thing and then switch over, same amp, same part, but use single coils. Blending those together, you get a really massive guitar sound. When capturing guitar sounds, it's important to understand what is actually being mic'd up. You need to know what amp you're using, what's the speaker configuration, and sort of where they're located on the cab. In this case, we're using a true stereo amp. So I have true stereo tremolo on this amp. That's why I'm using 257s, because I want the sound to be the same on both sides. But this could be, blending two mics together, or maybe it's just a 1x12. But in this instance, for this example, just a 2x12 here. It's important that the microphone, the capsules are equidistant from the speakers. If you don't, you'll have phase issues. It's also fun to take two mics. Sometimes I'll use a 57 and some sort of ribbon microphone, and I'll be able to blend those and kind of have some EQ options. But knowing your gear, knowing where it's best to mic these is also important. In the middle of every speaker, there's going to be a dust cap, or we'd call it the cone, and then there's the outside edge of the speaker. Generally, I will place a mic kind of in between those two spots. The closer the mic is to the dust cap, the center of the speaker, the brighter it's going to be. And then the further that we get away from that towards the edge of the speaker, we're going to have a bit of a darker sound. So 95% of the time I'm starting here, and if we need to change it because I don't like the tone, moving these mics around, whether it's off axis, on axis, or whatever, really kind of helps shape the tone as we're going down into the computer. So one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, when it comes to just thinking about guitars and how it sits in a full context of a band or a mix is how much low end you actually need. And what I have found is that it's way less than you think. As a matter of fact, most times I am high passing my guitars, sometimes even up to 150 hertz. I know that sounds kind of crazy because as low ends, as So, one of the biggest misconceptions that I see and I now understand, in my opinion, that most guitar players or producers get wrong is how much low end you actually need. Guitar is a mid range instrument. The most fundamental and important frequencies are living in the mid range of a guitar, and that's how it sits in the full context of a mix or a band. As guitar players, we want to hear this big low end, and I totally understand that. But whenever you kind of put that in context and you have this big bottom end on a guitar, it just feels flubby. It doesn't feel tight and it doesn't feel as aggressive as you think it does, or it does when you're just sitting alone playing. So sometimes I will high pass my guitars as high as 150 hertz. I know that sounds crazy, but it just depends on the part. But getting rid of low end so that that mid range can sit the way it needs to and actually cut through properly in a mix. So I pulled up an old session that I did maybe a year and a half ago, and it has some really, really cool guitars on it. So just want to go over a few tricks that I used while tracking this and mixing this that are very, very helpful. If you come over here, you'll look that I grouped all of my rhythm guitars to a guitar bus. That's because it's the same sound and I wanted to treat it as one guitar. I have guitars that are panned hard left and guitars that are panned hard right. In this instance, it was a Telecaster on one side and a Les Paul on an SG on the other side. And we just played the same part twice, panned hard left and right. It sounds like one giant guitar. Now, as I was going through and mixing these, this is my favorite EQ, maybe of all time, but definitely for guitars. It's an API 550B. 3K tends to be a magic frequency for guitars. Now, let's think about what else is happening around 3K. You have a little bit of the vocal, there's a little bit of snare drum crack going on. Sometimes you'll get, other keys and elements and stuff that are happening there, but in this instance, it's just guitar, bass, drums, percussion, vocals. So there's not a lot happening in that upper mid range. And so I want the guitar to punch through there. So I notched that up, as well as a little bit of bump at 7K. I just want the articulation. I want these guitars to be bright and in your face. Now, I did push a little bit of 180. I just felt that the rhythm guitars needed a little bit of bottom end, but you can hear the guitars. Here's the left side only. Now, here is the right side isolated. So that right side to my ear is a little bit darker, a little bit more woofy, and then that left side bites a little bit more. All together, they sound like this. It's a pretty great guitar sound, and it sounds like one guitar, even though it's 4 stacks of tracks on top of each other. Now, when I was tracking these on my preamps, I carved out a ton of low end because I wanted it to fit right in the mix. One other trick I want to talk to you all about is how to use panning to your advantage. We're always not always, but a lot of times we're trying to make things sound larger than life and jump out of the speaker and really grab people's attentions. And in this song in particular, which is this big old rock song, the guitars are extremely important to kind of, that is what this song is centered around. Of course, the vocal is always primary, but this is sort of a way, to kind of make a statement with these guitars. What I'll do a lot of times is I will, during the verses, if there's stereo guitar going on, is I will pan those guitars about 85% during the verses. So they're still wide, they're still full. We still have a lot of different texture going on with one guitar on one side and the other. It sounds like one guitar. But then as we move into the pre-chorus and then on into the chorus, I will slowly push those outside wider to where when we hit the downbeat of the chorus, the guitars are full on 100% panned left and right. I'll give you a little bit of that context here in this song. This is the beginning of the pre-chorus, I believe. Objects are closer than. This is this is the beginning of the pre-chorus coming up right here. Then they appear. Now. Oh my God, I see. So when that first big diamond comes in, it's the first time we hear the guitars fully wide and fully open, and it just lifts that section to a new level. Is the guitars in the full context of the chorus. By using that stereo panning and the full stereo field, it leaves plenty of room for that vocal to come through. And then any lead lines, I kind of left not quite up the center, but panned off to one side. That way they're not competing within the stereo field. This was a great example of like a real guitar song. One, because my good buddy Vince Camerano played on it, who's an amazing guitar player, and his wife Erica, who sings on this, is an incredible vocalist. The band is Little Victory. You should check them out. They're from Chicagoland area. That was a lot, but let's recap just so we make sure we get the full intent of this video. 1, a great player is always going to make the difference. That is the secret. There's no secret. You got to have a great guitar player playing a great guitar through a great amplifier. You stick any mic in front of that, it's probably going to sound pretty decent. 2, you don't need that much low end. I mean, like, get rid of that thing. It's not serving you. It's not serving the song. 3, understanding your gear. Where is the best mic placement? What's the best amp choice for this song, for this player, for this guitar? Understanding what pickups are gonna, help you achieve a certain sound. And then 3, using the stereo field within your mix to create dynamics, right? As that gets wider, the song's gonna sound bigger. Using automation and making things feel dynamic and fluid, and that there's actual separation between parts. Tracking, producing, and playing guitar is a lifelong journey. You're not going to figure it out just by watching some videos on YouTube. You've got to get out there and experiment with it. If you're not a guitar player, find someone who is and just say, hey, can we just track some guitar and I just want to try a bunch of things. Does the mic sound better on axis, off axis? Does this guitar sound cool with this amp? Just do a bunch of experimentation. Find out what you dig and how you can apply it to the songs that you're producing or mixing. Thank you so much for watching. If you stuck around this long, I really appreciate it. My name is Nick. This is the Harbor Music YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe for more content. We'll have some videos coming at you later this week. Thank you.